There.
You could wax them up.
Yep.
Okay. That's why we hired you.
We are going to call the meeting to order and do a roll call. Eugene Thurston, Steve Whitman, Rebecca Hansen, Bill Bolton, Chris Buckley, myself, I'm Steve Rhodes. A couple of things tonight. The first thing is public comments unrelated to the agenda. Seeing none, we will move on to the agenda. First item is election of officers for the coming year. Before we get started on that, I need to inform the board that I will be leaving midsummer, probably August, July or August, so.
Forever?
Yeah.
Okay. Not just vacation, all right? Just
So wait, leaving the town of Plymouth or?
Leaving the town of Plymouth, yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Where are you going?
Probably the state of Maine, so.
You never asked for permission.
I asked Bill.
Oh, Bill gets to tell everybody what to
I
do.
told him no.
Right.
So anyway, so that really, you guys can keep that in mind. I'm certainly happy to stay on between now and then and continue as chairman if you guys want me to do that. So we have 3 positions: chairman, vice chair, and non-recording secretary. John is not here. He's the current non-recording secretary, and it's my understanding that this is his last year. Would you?
This could be his last year. He hasn't re-upped or hasn't indicated that he wants to come back.
Okay.
And this theoretically is the last month that,
His term expires.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we need to nominate some people to carry on. Are you still willing to carry on as vice chair?
Yes.
Okay, well, I nominate Rebecca to be vice chair. Do I have a
You need a
second?
nomination for a chair? Or you just agreed to be on, but I nominate you as the chair.
Okay, I've nominated Rebecca, you've nominated me.
Okay, I'll second both. Oh,
And
no, I
you just-
can't second both, never mind.
Making this really messy for
I'll
Sharon.
second Rebecca's.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're gonna second Rebecca,
I'll second Steve.
you're gonna second me, so, all right, so there's 2 people on the slate. Anybody else for those 2 positions that was interested in vice chair or chair?
At this point, we have, right, 1 or 2? Chris or?
1 or 2.
You
I'm an
or-
alternate.
Yeah, so you're, not you, Steve, sorry, Eugene.
Yeah.
Or,
Eugene, yeah.
or Chris, right?
Right, so unless you want to propose yourself as chair or vice chair,
And this is for the secretary position, right?
we're looking for a
No.
secretary, correct?
Okay,
Non-recording.
yeah.
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 What does the non-recording secretary, what's
You're
that?
third in command, so, when Al Haig gives up the ghost, then you're in charge. So I think that's primarily the reason, so if Rebecca and I are absent, then you would run the meeting. Okay, so I nominate Chris Buckley or Eugene, which you guys would you like to do this?
You've been here longer.
Yeah.
Eugene, yeah.
Yeah, you got it. Okay, I nominate Eugene.
A second.
All right. All right, so we have a slate for officers, chairman, myself, vice chair Rebecca Hansen, and non-recording secretary Eugene Thurston. We're going to vote on that. All those in favor of that slate of candidates, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, please say nay. Okay, so those are the officers for the year. We're going to skip the minutes and do those last. And before we started catching up with Tara, I think there's some folks here from the Energy Commission. And if you guys want to, you can come closer or you can stay there. Whatever, come closer is good. I'm a little hard of hearing.
You guys can pull up a chair too, if that's easy.
Yeah, just grab a chair. And,
Slide.
Yeah. See?
That's how fun they are to me.
Yeah, exactly. Just a good workout, though.
Excluding, but you can join too. I'm comfortable.
She'll join us soon enough.
so we're rewriting the master plan, and the old one's from 2008. And in the old master plan, I did find a reference to energy in basically 2 sentences. And one of the sentences said, establish a strong and visible commitment to energy efficiency and sustainability. And I guess that's you guys, right? So that's what happened.
Yeah,
Step in
part of
in
it.
the direction.
So can you kind of give us the history of the Energy Commission and what you're doing now? Please. Do you want to sit here forward?
Yeah, sure. So just for folks that don't know me, I'm Katie Bush. I've been a resident of Plymouth just for 4 years, but I'm the newly appointed chair of the Energy Commission. So I can speak a little bit to what we do now. Maggie is here also to be able to speak a little bit more about the, a longer term perspective of the commission. But we did also put together some notes around our current goals and how we think it might fit with master plan. So then we can give you an overview and then maybe we can review some of these goals and initiatives. I don't know how long you want this portion to take. I think we can
Well,
fill as much time.
go until you run out of gas, I guess.
Okay.
So maybe what is a little bit helpful, I only have 2 copies because I try not to kill too many trees, but this is a copy of our bylaws. And I think it's just a good place to start the purpose statement. So, our focus is really on reducing energy use and consumption, also saving money from the town. And so when we talk a little bit in a minute about our concrete goals, it's really about promoting energy conservation, energy efficiency, and the use of renewable energies within municipal buildings. But then we also focus on educating and supporting both residents and businesses to engage in, like that said, sustainable and renewable energy practices. So I think that helps a little bit with our purpose and why we're here and our vision. What's challenging then is like, what do we take away from that that's concrete, that is relevant to our master planning process? And so Maggie and I did sit down and talk some about how we think we can collaborate more in the future. I think a preface is that we have gone through a lot of transition as a commission recently, and so I think we have some of our own strategic planning to do in the coming months. And so I think one clear request is that this isn't our only chance to engage with you, because I think even being invited here prompted some high-level questions for us, and as we continue to work through those, I think it'd be great to have another opportunity to engage. And so I don't know a lot about the master planning process, but the last one you said was updated in 2008. And so, is there a way to make it maybe more of a living document so that if in a year we have more that we think should be included, that there's a way to add an appendix or, so I think that's part of the discussion is, is today our only chance and how can we continue to be engaged and how do we make this a living document that can evolve as technologies and everything else are sort of evolving?
Well, I think the master plan is a document that gets written and then is basically static until the next time it gets written, which is anywhere from 8 to 10 years, I guess, by the time you get it all done. It's mandated by the state, and it's to provide guidance for the town as it moves forward and all the different areas that's covered in the plan. The master plan does speak in many places, the previous one and the current one, to developing relationships with other groups in town and kind of moving forward on certain issues. So the relationships can certainly develop and stay current on an ongoing basis. One of the things we do hope to do with this plan is not just shelve it after it's written, which is kind of the tendency with these things, but to kind of revisit it on an ongoing basis as part of the board's monthly business, So maybe in month 3 we revisit energy, and in month 4 we revisit transportation, something like that. So there would be opportunities, I think, many to
Great. Yeah.
influence the board.
That definitely prompted a lot of ideas and discussion, and I think, as we are reforming our own goals, that'd be good to continuously check in on that. So, but Maggie, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the ideas we came up with?
Bill sits in on the meetings as the select board's representative, and Steve is also a member. So you definitely have, whoa, wait a minute, you're not saying that quite right, capability here.
You guys are great.
But,
Glad you're here.
So, all right. So in terms of framing this, I was thinking about, what have our goals been? We've got goals of implementing energy conservation. We've got current actions. And then we've got ideas that we have talked about. We don't have set in stone the vision for what where we're gonna be in 10 years. We don't have that on the commission at all. So our current actions involve, we're trying to facilitate the completion of the street lighting plan with state-of-the-art lower wattage LED bulbs and lamps. And that is still in process. That has been a long, slow process. And a lot of energy a lot of time and effort has been spent on that. We also have talked at various times, various meetings over the past couple of years about considerations of the efficiency of the town fleet. That hasn't really evolved to any current action steps, but we have talked about it quite a bit. We have been involved in energy audits and recommendations going forth from those energy audits, specifically in this building. There's nothing active at the current time, but we have talked about the need for revisiting that in the future in any town building, and in terms of planning new buildings, that energy infrastructure should definitely be considered. Because my personal experience is it's not. It's sort of, oh yeah, we're going to get the energy to the building. Yeah, we have electricity, and then there'll be a way to heat it. Oh yeah, how shall we heat this one? Oh yeah, we always do oil. So that the energy infrastructure, planning that needs to be part of planning. And we have talked about that on and off. Other potential future steps that we've talked about that relate to master planning would be a codification of lighting and energy efficiency requirements for future developments that we update to keep up with technologies, at least a consideration of that, above and beyond building code. And this came up, can't remember which master planning meeting, what it was entitled, but we were talking about downtown versus Tenny Mountain Highway, and how does one develop Tenny Mountain Highway? What are the different ways we can do that, and what are the requirements? Do we want a light for all the cars? Do we want a light for, and so there were considerable discussions more at that meeting by Energy Commission members than actually within our meetings, but that has come up significantly. The other discussion that related to that, also at the master planning meeting, was incorporation into the plan with measures for facilitation of transport that reduces fossil fuel use, either facilitating pedestrian, traffic, bicycle, or public transport. And that also is more that commission members brought that up, went to master planning meetings and brought that up more than we have not focused on it at our specific meetings. But I felt it was fair to include that. You want to do the next section? You want me to
sure.
keep going?
So that whole part was under energy conservation as the goal. If we then talk a little bit more about energy education / advocacy, and I'd say that's another place where we're exploring our role as educators to the town and to the residents, but also as advocates. So currently, we're maintaining sort of relationships with what's called the Regional Energy Hub. So we partner with other local energy commissions, as well as PARE, which is a local partner sort of convener. And we maintain an advisory role like this, right, to sort of keep others up to date on sort of the state of the science around energy. We did a lot of brainstorming around what we would like to do and how we think it might fit into the master plan, but facilitating workshops on energy issues for town employees and as well as residents, so kind of creating this public space for information gathering. And so that the important part there is that the planning board promote public spaces, I guess, right? And that there are places like that, like the library, and that's highlighted as a resource in the town. Dissemination of information to residents for increased effectiveness or collaboration in conservation and renewable energy projects. So I think, have you guys ever surveyed, like, how many people even know that an energy commission exists in town? So just like getting our name out there as an entity and as a resource, I think, and to the extent that the planning process helps with that. We thought about the importance of developing policy statements, maybe, so that people know sort of where the Energy Commission falls on certain emerging issues. Northern Pass might be one example. Climate change might be another. There's all kinds of things that it might just be helpful to have official policy statements from the town on certain issues, and to the extent that a planning process provides a conduit for that. Or, then we can show you a policy statement from the Energy Commission and maybe pieces of that get incorporated into a plan. I think just continuing to represent the town in collaboration on state and regional energy planning. So maybe there's things happening in Concord that we should be a part of, or even higher up, but mostly in Concord. I think, so many decisions I'm learning get made either locally or in Concord, but representing local opinions in those forums.
But only with collaboration, not as
Right.
we're
Right, I think
we're
that's
the owners of this.
I
now.
think that's the huge thing, is to really have any weight, that is so much more meaningful to come from a broader representation of the town, right? And so much of this is really sort of cross-sectoral, right? You can't have a strong energy plan without a strong master plan, you know, especially when we think about transportation and reducing fossil fuels. So I think to have real impact, it takes these multiple groups working together to have an impact.
And then a very specific goal is installation of renewable energy facilities. And so right now, our current action is current exploration of 100 kilowatt max AC capacity photovoltaic system at the recycling center. And the current status of that is that we are awaiting 2 proposals from 2 different vendors that would include financing, particularly with PPAs, so power purchase agreements, which would allow the town to proceed with an installation without any expenditure of capital. Still some issues about site work and how much expenditure of capital that would involve, but really making progress in terms of how big a system do we want, who are the vendors that we might want, and getting competing bids. And so we're expecting those within a couple of weeks, the actual proposals. So that's, and that's taking a lot of the current efforts.
Just a quick question on that. So what does the town have to do to approve that project? Is that the select board that just says go for it, or what?
There's some difference of opinion, and initially we thought we could just, do it for the fact that if we're going with like a PPA, we'll just go ahead and go pay cheaper money for agreement and purchase power through this arrangement versus our current contractor Constellation. But then the flip side is that it might have to come before the town for a vote. And if that's the case, it'll be like next March. And I guess either way, probably next summer would be a good time for a build out anyway. So if we can do either process, we can have it done by, I guess, next spring.
Okay.
Any other questions about that project? Okay. We've also talked at our meetings about additional solar, but that's maybe getting a little ahead of ourselves, because there is starting to be talk of community solar gardens, other communities having them. So we are thinking, should this be a phase 1? Not sure yet. Depends on the scenario. Depends on what happens with co-op rates and other sellers, buyers. So that's just kind of another idea that we floated around the meetings. In terms of future steps that would really involve, or could really involve, master planning, we've talked about other renewable energies. Everyone seems to have their own little pet project that they would like to pursue over the past few years. We've talked about examples would include smaller micro hydro, waste to bio oil processes, and even adoption of a microgrid infrastructure. Very few of those exist now, but it may be a way in the future. So these are examples of projects that could be local or regional, and would be nice to explore over the next 5 years for sure. Then we'd also like to see language incorporated into the master plan that acknowledges the need for a continued update of these kinds of policies based on new technology. I mean, battery technology is barreling right in, and so rethinking how can we incorporate that in a useful way for the town? What do we need to rethink? I think that's about it.
I mean, that's a lot, I know. So I feel like if we think about the key goals, right, energy conservation, education, awareness, advocacy, and renewable energy generation, then there's kind of places in each of those where I think the master plan could highlight them. And then specifically some of those things, just to reiterate, the codification of lighting and energy requirements, sort of promoting energy audits during development, development of policy statements in collaboration maybe. And I think this last part around incorporating language that acknowledges that this needs to be sort of renewed and revisited from time to time, and maybe more frequently than the master planning process necessarily allows for formally.
And to actually pull it together for master planning, I didn't put it down here because to formalize it, I think needs to go very specifically through the commission with a vote, would be in the master planning process, should we be highlighting sites for renewable energies, doing a survey of the town specifically for renewable energy installations. And that's probably the most specific future, whoa, we could do this. But that hasn't been voted on by the commission. It's an idea that's out there. I think it's sensible, but we would need to actually take that to a vote to be a recommendation, and we have not voted on that. That literally, I just went, whoa, this is the summary of renewable energy. This is what master planning would be about, is doing a survey and really figuring out, where are the drops? Where is enough water that has the 6 or 10 foot drop to do microhydro with enough flow?
Just a point of order, but we have 4 people. We have a quorum for the.
Can we vote on an energy commission topic during
Without
the
calling a
planning
meeting?
board? I don't think so.
I think so.
Can I add a couple things?
Yes, please.
So first of all, thank you both so much, because I think you really beautifully summarized all the things I hadn't thought about before tonight that I think are really relevant about the Energy Commission work as it relates to the master plan. I think you hit on all of it. Mm-hmm. And I think it's wonderful to see in the town of Plymouth, the planning board asking for other boards and committees to give that input as we work with Tara on updating the master plan. And I think it's okay if we don't hit on every project that might come up. But I think the overall philosophy that you shared in thinking about the master plan being, in some sense, an inventory of what's happened and some prediction of what we want to do going forward, to see this, the way we've embraced energy conservation and renewables in Plymouth across sectors, like an incredible number of projects that have already happened as far as energy retrofits and energy production. But to see that reflected somehow in our master plan vision, mm-hmm. and then just the underlying philosophy that you communicated really gives us a lot of leverage to continue to develop those projects. Mm-hmm. And so, that's exciting to me. And I also, one of the things I was going to note, you noted that connection to land use decisions. And when we get to the land use section of the master plan, I think this planning board gets that we really, the way we locate things and the way we can potentially spread out in the town has energy implications through transportation and other things. So thinking about our land use pattern, but also thinking about the built environment, like you guys hit on all of it. Cool. So thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
And I guess if I put a big draft on this, we could leave a copy of this. But this would need to be, I think, officially adopted by the Energy Commission. This is me trying to pull together ideas with Katie bringing her ideas with me. And so I don't think we veered off course, but it always makes me a little nervous to not have it.
Tara, I have a question for you. Was energy addressed specifically as a topic in any of our forums? I don't think it was it?
No, it was deliberately incorporated in the other topics. We
Each of the other.
discussed whether to have it be a separate one or
Right.
not, and decided it would make the point better to have it be part of all of the others.
To have it mentioned, and rather than having a separate section on.
Right, so that you're talking about how it relates to transportation, for example. And, if I can hop in though on timing, the master plan process is closer to the end than the beginning. We're, probably one more meeting to talk about recommendations, and then it's just a matter of updating some background information to go with that. So the time is right now to, do a draft write-up of, as Steve was saying, to summarize what's been done and a little bit about the Energy Commission. And in terms of specific sites, the the master plan isn't really going in that specific a direction. It would be more likely a recommendation to consider surveying the site, right, as opposed to putting the sites in the plan. It's more of a policy document, and that's what keeps it relevant for 10 years. The more details you put in, the more sooner it's out of date. And well, it's certainly everybody's goal to have it be a living document. There's a cost in updating it because it has to be a public process. So, and with, you know, surveys and meetings and public hearings and all, so it's not so easy to update it to pop in some new technology, but it is easy to put in language that's gonna stay current.
Right, yeah, and I guess that's what the incorporation there, the last
Yeah, the very last bullet.
recommendation was.
So I'd be happy to work with you between meetings, you know, so that the planning board can have a chance to see that, you know, for the next meeting. It's actually, I mean, the timing is perfect. All that they have right now is, there was a recommendation to establish a strong and visible commitment to energy efficiency and sustainability, and the decision was made to, well, we did that, so we'll change the word to continue. So, you know, it'd be great to have a whole page instead of one policy, I'm sure.
So what I can definitely send along is the bylaws, where I think, you know, it expands a little bit on those concrete goals. And I also, the annual report that I think I was late in submitting, so it may not be in the actual report, I can send you that, which sort of summarizes some of our projects, just so if you want to see language that might be.
I was taking notes too, and I don't know if that one page is,
Yeah, that might be good. I can send it to you though,
I could
Stephen.
see that just in.
I just want to ask a quick question and then contribute to this discussion. Do you guys have an energy plan for the town? So, or not you guys, do we have one for the town?
No.
Yeah, I mean, it's, whoa, yeah.
But I think what's beyond the master plan, what's most important here is that you guys are here and that we'll continue to work together. We operate under the umbrella of the master plan as our guiding document, and there's certainly language already that we've put in there that encourages us to continue to work with you. So I think regardless of the details that we can hammer out in the short time we have, right? Short time until it's done. That,
Short.
I think it's important that we're collaborating regardless of the specific language we get in there.
But I feel like just from, if we did nothing better than incorporate the notes I took sitting here, then it's a lot better than where we were, or would have been if you hadn't come right now.
Yeah.
And I think what I'll do in the meantime is make sure there are no dissenters from what's said on that, because I realize that due process didn't really happen for that document, but send it around and make sure that we at least have email approval within the commission for everything that's on the page.
Or, I mean, you have your process, but another possible way to do this, it becomes the planning board's plan. The planning board adopts it. So what I might do is take your information and try to put it in language that's consistent with the rest of the master plan, and then
To the energy.
Yes.
yeah, and then you could vote on that and say, yes, this is our recommendation for master plan language.
Great, that's awesome. I think one thing that would be really great going forward is to somehow codify on our side and on your side, the fact that we should meet on a scheduled basis, twice a year or once a year or something, so that, you know, when your calendar comes up, you know, when Sharon's doing the agenda, it says, oh, we gotta meet with the Energy Commission this month. And that, forcing a meeting will do more than anything to keep the whole process current.
Totally. Yep.
So hopefully we can do that. That's kind of outside of the master plan, but
It is and it isn't. I mean, you've got that recommendation on several things, and you know, you can almost see that being kind of a checklist that comes out of the plan, because you have so much going on in this town, and you get bogged down in the, you know, the day-to-day applications before you. So it would be a way to make sure you're checking on the implementation of the master plan, as you've talked about looking for a way to kind of force that and make it routine and.
right. All right.
I think beyond that too, I don't think we take advantage of our board members that are on multiple boards. And I think asking at our monthly work sessions for our Conservation Commission representative, and you guys were also on this commission, to
Right.
report
Good
on what's
point, yeah.
happening,
Yeah,
so.
good point.
5-minute update type of thing.
And it's on the agenda every work session regardless, so we get an update.
Excellent.
And a couple of communities in New Hampshire have a pretty good practice of an annual all boards meeting. Where
think that's
in
interesting.
a lot of cases, the planning board will host it, and the planning board chair will open the meeting. And then each board's chair gives a 10-minute, overview. Sometimes food's involved, but people, and the boards are encouraged not to sit with their fellow board members. We're lucky, we're a small town, and we do have this good overlap where people are willing to serve on more than one board, so I think we can do that. But it's also nice, like, we don't ever really run into the ZBA. But it'd be nice to know, like,
kidding.
what happened this year with the ZBA? Did they have a lot of meetings, and were they dealing with a lot of cases, or are we in good shape?
Yeah. And the other problem is the history, because the boards change, and sometimes they change really quickly, so.
Yes.
John Kelly had all that, he's got all that history that goes back. You've got all this history that goes back. If you leave, and Brian comes in or something like that, then we lose that. So, keeping that ongoing process of meeting all the time, I think was a big help.
Especially if there's food involved.
Well, great. Well, guys, thanks so much.
Thanks for the opportunity. It's good.
Really helpful.
Nice to meet
So
you.
you'll send me that, or?
Yeah, I can do that, 'cause I have a copy now. I
Can you send
out
it?
to Everybody, I'll report out to them.
Okay.
Send it to me too, would you
Then
please?
Yes.
if you want to talk with either one of us, I may have more time than you.
You want to do it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I can do that.
Awesome.
As she questions the statement as it comes out of her mouth.
You wanna
What
just
am I saying? Yeah.
give me your contact?
It's great.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to call out in the master plan, if we can, some of the successes that,
Yeah, that's what I had suggested,
Yeah.
that they write up,
Yeah, we,
You know, a
that wasn't
page.
really in this.
so when people read it, they, not just the planning board members, but other people in town read it, they got some sense of what's happened.
Well, that's what I really liked about Maggie's document. It's like, here's what we're doing successfully, and here's where we'd like it to go. Because, just to always keep that vision part of what you're doing.
Right.
Great.
Well, cool.
Thank you.
don't need to
Guys,
stay for the
appreciate
rest of it.
You're welcome to if you'd like to.
Maybe another time.
Yeah.
I'm going to leave.
Tell your friends you're going to be looking for more planning board members.
Compete with the recruitment for the energy.
Yeah, I know.
Who's the better snack?
there's no
We'll have to
snacks
start
here.
serving food, yeah.
I'll start bringing snacks. That will be my turn.
Okay.
Hoping you'd do the minutes, because I had a comment.
Oh, all right, we'll do the minutes. We'll do the darn minutes. Where are they? I lost them already.
I was there. That's my comment. I was there, not listed as being there,
No,
but I
others-
sure talked a lot for
others
somebody who wasn't
present?
there.
You were there in spirit. It was a
That's right, you show up on
seance.
page 2.
Oh, yeah, I was busy for somebody who wasn't there.
Must have called in or something.
Could be an issue when I try to get mileage reimbursed.
Oh, you can't show, right? Yeah. I would make a motion to amend the minutes so that they reflect that Tara was in attendance at the March 16th meeting.
Yes, I second that motion. And if there are no objections, we will make it so. All right.
You're there.
Any other comments on these minutes? Any comments? Minutes. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So move.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor of accepting the minutes, say aye. Aye. Opposed, please say nay. So
Can
we're
I
gonna.
make a comment?
Yes.
I wasn't here. I'm seeing this bullet point that says something about invasive species. If wondering if DES has a list of invasive species. I can address, I don't have to, we don't have to talk about it now, but if we need a list of invasive species, I can
Yeah, okay.
do that.
All right.
Where are we anyway? Let's, so,
The very second to last bullet point. Another concern is about invasive species such as plants. The board would like to find out whether DES has a list of invasive species. The answer is no, but Department of Agriculture does.
Okay. All right, Tara, back to you. Where are we?
Where are we? We're on, community facilities.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we've been going through the recommendations, topic by topic, in this agreed upon format, for making it a little bit of an action plan. And the basis for these first drafts has been, first couple meetings I had with you where we went through the recommendations and talked about why they worked or didn't and what's done. And the round table meetings, there was a whole one on facilities and services. And also then I look back at the survey results and the visioning session to make sure that it's all being parts of a whole. So, we're getting close to being done with this process. And then I will take a look at the background information. That's usually the much quicker process. So I don't know if you want to go through these one by one, or what, I guess what I'd suggest is we do them in sections. Is we have community facilities and services, we have education, and we have recreation. So maybe take a couple minutes to read the first 2 pages, and then we can talk about that. That way you know what's covered and what's not. So if everybody's done reading the 9 recommendations, so we are at the wordsmithing time. In the past meetings, I've said, no, don't wordsmith, we'll do that later. This is the time to see what else needs to be in here. What possible players are missing from that middle column. Did I identify the right lead? Because I kind of made these up as I went along based on my kind of limited knowledge of how your town actually works. And did I plug in the right time frame?
Can I make a comment about one of the statements, number 7?
Which one?
Number 7? I'm just wondering if we want to keep large scale in there, and we've made some significant improvements to the police department. So I don't think it could still be called the public safety complex, not knowing when this gets addressed, but I don't know what you'd think as a select person.
So I was thinking that the interpretation of this is that it's a singular, large-scale fire, public safety, PD. And I'm not, how'd that come about? I know it was out of
The old one.
the old one and also joint sessions too. I
Right.
mean, it was communicated that, we would still go forward. I don't know how likely that is. We've already dumped a lot of money in the PD, and a lot of money is assigned to the, the fire department. And if anything, it might be like an ancillary fire, public safety thing out on Tenny Mountain Highway or something, or.
The focus at the roundtable discussion was on bringing all the police departments together. And that's,
All the police departments together, or all the safety, public safety departments together in one building?
right, that's.
I can't
that's-
dispute that, but,
Well, after what we just invested in our existing police department and the university, I don't think wanting to move their force off campus.
yeah.
Well, you're the filter. I mean,
Yeah.
you go through the public meetings, the survey and whatnot, but then ultimately you're the ones who are the filter who get to say, well, that's nice, but that's not realistic. So
So-
let's,
The reason I flagged it was large scale, just because I think that just stirs the pot. Because we've had so much discussion about this, but it does seem like we're still lacking a plan long-term. So maybe there's still.
Or a desire, actually.
Or
But-
desire for a
Or
plan?
maybe a town-wide desire to actually move this forward.
Right.
So we're not in a finalize and implement
No.
place.
so what would be the right verb?
I
Is
don't
it
know.
something we want to pull from the table altogether, or is it,
Well, if you're seeking my opinion, it's not something that the select board probably would engage in.
But do you think 5 years from now, they might want to assess where we're at and plan, knowing this is a 10-year plan?
There might be enough sympathy to maybe target 5 years down the pike to, take a look at a large-scale, unified public safety complex.
I just wonder if there's a way that we can keep this in there, but change the language such that it's like to, continue to think about.
Something about assessing public safety needs
Yeah.
for
Evaluate or whatever.
structures, because it might just be
Yeah.
that there's just a need for a change to the firehouse or an ancillary structure. Who
Right.
knows?
Yeah.
But it does seem like if we don't keep something in there to at least have a conversation at some point, I mean, I guess we'll have it no matter what, but.
Well, if nothing else, to have the same conversation when we update this
Yeah.
in 10 years.
And I put medium, I mean, thinking 5 years.
Well, yeah, I see the medium too. I'm thinking almost like long term, but that's okay.
Well, long, you see that I
Long is
overlapped
fi-
medium
yeah.
and long, they can both be 5, so.
Oh, yeah, long is 5 to 10.
Number 7 says, oh, it does say medium, yeah.
So make it long.
Or what if it was monitor the need
Yeah.
and then put ongoing, and then that would keep it
Because you're
open.
not really gonna do that. But you might be more apt to, kind of checklist to go on through this, say, oh yeah, it's been 5 years, we should do that. Right? Concerned with all the things that are ongoing that,
Yeah, 6 to 1. I wouldn't mind it. If you left it medium, that's fine. It's 5 years and maybe the need will exist in 5 years.
So should it say assess the need for a public safety complex?
Yeah, because they're not finalizing and implementing plans.
And it doesn't have to say large scale, because it could be one or both, it could be either. Okay.
Remote or ancillary one, yeah.
I wonder if we should say assess the need, assess what the needs for our public safety are, including a public safety complex. So,
Yeah.
just to open it up so we're not looking at it through blinders.
Right.
say that again.
Oh.
Assess what the needs are for a public safety complex.
Yep,
That's what I heard.
including the United one, or for our safety complex. I don't know what I said.
Yeah, it wasn't that.
It was good.
We taped it, so.
You'll have to watch it on television.
No, not that.
Play it back.
Something about assessing our public safety facilities needs,
Okay.
including a coordinated, I don't even think it needs to say necessarily large scale, because I don't totally know what that means. coordinated public safety complex.
Well done.
That's a keeper.
Do we get rid of that last sentence? Is that something that everybody agreed on that day, but not anymore?
I don't think that detail is needed in there.
Yeah, I don't either.
Okay.
The other comment I had on the list was about number 9, and it's not necessarily that we have to change what's here. I think what's here is really good, but it's more just a point of like a historical record that the town, we adopted a resolution at a town meeting, the year of which I can't remember, but I think it was right around the time we created the Energy Commission. And the resolution was for all future municipal buildings to be high-performance, energy-efficient buildings. There is a resolution out there. And I've been waiting for us to do some kind of big building so I can go dig it up and remind everybody, blow the dust off it. But I don't know if we want to be more specific than strong and visible commitment to energy efficiency and sustainability.
Well, I'm thinking that I would pull that out and make a separate energy section with what they're gonna give me.
Okay.
And that resolution, we would put in the successes section in the background that
Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
helps them with.
I just want to make sure I mentioned it.
And add the Energy Commission as a,
Yeah.
a party. So that salt shed better be high efficiency.
Built out of solar panels. Insulated, even though it's open on one side.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. You're like a, 30 or 40, yeah, what kind of like, yeah, what's the installation capacity? I put like 30 in the roof and,
It'll be filled with salt.
I'm a little unsure of the wording in number 4. We already have that capability, right, on zoning regulations? Hit developers with a fee? I think we already have that, don't we?
yeah.
And the master plan needs to support whatever you are doing, that you wanna
Yeah.
keep doing.
Maybe break it into 2 sentences. Because there's
Okay,
a lot going
I'm
on.
okay with, yeah, because we do need that, because we do have it already in the regulations. Okay.
There was a lot of discussion, and I kept it in my notes, that, that it may not be as routine and as routinely a part of the review process as it should be.
Oh,
And
okay.
there wasn't consensus that day on what verb to put in. It was like improve, strengthen, blah,
Right.
blah, but, I used ensure, but.
Yeah, I mean, it's not really part of the, well, I guess it is part of the site plan review, right? Sewer and water get it.
I would almost just put a period after process and then say this will ensure that the developer pays their fair share. Just to break it up. And it could probably be broken up another way too, maybe a better way, but just as a suggestion.
You think it should be 2 different recommendations? Could be.
I just see the second one as explaining the first one, or explaining the reason for that level of consideration. So, I think it's okay if it's all together. I don't know how
Okay.
the rest of you feel.
Ready to go to education? That was easy. So I'll give you a minute to read this one page.
Also, we're gonna have annual meetings with the planning board and school boards, so that's a good segue into having annual meetings with everyone, so,
Great idea.
yeah.
Don't worry, Steve, we'll have them in Maine.
They're gonna be near the coast, right?
I think, that could be, you were talking about making sure that some piece of the master plan list is on each working meeting each month. I think that's a good way to do it, is have, invite the partner organizations to meet with you and say who needs to do what.
I think this is nice too, because I think if a couple of us didn't have kids that are at some of the schools, we wouldn't know about some of the projects they've had going on.
Yeah, that's true.
And at the same time, like while we're talking through the Energy Commission about this large array for the town, sometimes we're at the Energy Commission, we talk about the SAU property, but we're not talking with them about it. So we don't even know what their plans are. And could we make that as a potential emergency shelter facility more robust in the case of a power? Like, there's a lot of things that we could maybe talk about that take time to percolate. So I like that. Could be doing more maybe for having those conversations. Is this a place, Bill, where we should say anything about integration of the school properties into our transportation network? I mean, we've talked about secondary access points and trails and things like that.
Education policies, tasks, and strategies. Yeah, probably.
And I don't know, Tara, if you think that might come up somewhere else. I think we even had a question in the survey about it.
Yeah, in fact, there was quite a few comments about, different alternative routes for accessing the schools.
Yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't think there was a lot of support for any of those.
Well, I fully support it.
I'd have the,
Bill told me I had to support it too, and I thought that.
Yeah, the New Ward Bridge, the Bolton Bridge.
Bolton Bridge, right.
Bolton Folly, I hear.
Yeah, that's more like it.
if it's,
And I'm not saying that we get specific, but it just seems like it's a perennial issue that there's that one kind of access point, and
Yeah,
I mean, there's this emergency access point now as well, but
yep.
I don't know. Maybe it doesn't need to be here, but maybe it's wanted to at least raise it.
So something about education, or facilities and connectivity and transportation.
Connectivity.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have kind of a nice recreational connectivity and pedestrian connectivity right now. I would hate to lose that, but maybe we can improve some of the other connectivity.
You gonna say connectivity, or are you gonna see some other word for modal transport? Because, connectivity, I'm thinking it's T1 line or something like that, or.
Oh, you're thinking internet connectivity.
Okay, you can just keep throwing out all kinds of jargon.
We're choosing all.
Yeah.
Pilot jargon.
Yeah.
So I guess we're talking about transportation connectivity.
Yep.
Sounds good. Make it so, Tara.
Wave your wand.
Yeah.
that's your job when I'm done.
Would that fall to Board of Selectmen and the SAU as points of contact, or?
I guess my question is that something better in the education portion of this or the transportation?
I was thinking that question in my head too, and, maybe
Yeah,
both. I don't think there's any problem with having something like that in both.
I have no problem with some transportation either.
The thing I like about it, well, maybe in both, is that it'll involve the right people looking at this entire list. So,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, that the month you're looking at education, you'll see it
Yep.
when you're meeting with the school board or whatever, and the month you're sitting with highway folks and DOT to talk about the transportation one, you'll see it.
Right.
right, and as it's part of transportation, it's a bigger picture, whereas we're looking at the education, it's a little more site-specific, so.
Yeah, that's a good point.
hold joint budget discussions annually with who? With the SAU and the select board or planning board? Because there really is not a whole lot of communication between the SAU budget and town. They got their own process and they're kind of like that.
I think, well, there was something like that in the other plan, and
Oh, yeah?
maybe to address that problem. I mean, I heard you just say, it's like a whole different process. And I think the recommendation was that it.
More open, or
Yeah.
at least collaborative, or some communicative, at least we get
Right.
communicative. It's like a transmissible disease, but. All right, well, we can include that,
By
just.
definitional jargon.
Ongoing.
All set with education?
Yep.
And we have a couple pages on recreation. I pulled that out because there was a lot more discussion on it and a lot more details. I think it was in the other plan, arts and recreation kind of lumped with a bunch of different goals. And I took the first one and put it with facilities. And we still need to talk about the others, I think. I don't think we really ever got through that.
I have some thoughts on the second page of recreation when we're ready.
I just added schools to number 8. Like, did I not read the previous page?
Happens. It's a lot of details.
Where did the teen center come from? Is that a
The round table.
round table?
I flagged that, number 7, wondering how the youth center fits in.
What's youth center, because there's a couple.
Well, I'm thinking of the Pemmy Youth Center right here
Okay,
on
so
Main
that's,
Street.
yeah, and that's like nonprofit.
Right,
But then we also have a business that's opening up
Right.
where the Democratic headquarters used to be,
right.
which is like less than 21.
So that's our for-profit teen center.
Yep.
Check this off.
Which really isn't a teen center.
I thought it was over 21.
Yeah, it is.
No, less
No,
than
it's
21.
under 21,
But over 18.
but over 18.
I thought it
think.
wasn't over 18. I thought it was like
Well,
more
there was a
youth
lot of
too.
confusion about that.
It clearly still is.
Yeah, there really, there
I guess
is.
I know where we're going tonight. Get to the bottom of this.
Are they open?
I don't know.
No.
I
They
think
got
that's
some
exactly, it
signage
was
up.
over 18 and
It was,
it was, there
it was a
for college
non-alcoholic
kids.
over
Right,
18,
yeah.
right?
Okay,
It
so,
was like more youth, but
Well, that's how he started, but then it changed over
Okay.
the course of the meeting.
Well, no, I think also it was sort of a misinterpretation of how the planner report called it a teen center, or youth center, but I don't know, it was more of an event center that doesn't have alcohol and not for people under 18
least
or
not.
21.
Inside unless it's. in-
okay, so number 7, are we
Yeah.
keeping 7 or throwing it out?
I mean, if it came up as something from some of the sessions, I don't want to get rid of it if you think that there was a demand for it. I just don't, I wanted to make sure it wasn't ignoring the fact that we have other teen centers.
Well, but you're the filter. I mean, it could have been one person saying it and people being in the mood to nod and, right, so it wasn't a lengthy discussion.
So are you guys gonna want to explore the teen center later this year?
We're not listed there, so I feel safe with that, but
I guess I have no idea if there is a But I guess the whole idea is we need to explore the feasibility.
So what is the youth center that you do have that you just mentioned? Not the one you're unclear on, but the Pemmy Youth Center.
I'm unclear on that one too.
Well, there's a lot of after-school programs.
It's really
and-
successful.
Yeah,
It's right on Main Street. It's in the little old building that was a fire station. It's been around for a long time.
Structured programs?
yeah. in
Yeah.
Because
fact-
I'm sure the conversation was not about structured programs, but about a safe place for teens to go be
Go hang out.
teens. Yeah, like
Okay.
the kind of activity you'd have outdoors at the skateboard park, but indoors.
Kind of depends upon who answered the question, what they had in mind, because as Parks and Rec and
High
RHS.
school?
What's SB?
I made up acronyms for the high school and elementary school.
Oh, gotcha.
I mean, I also don't think it needs to be in the master plan for them to pursue it if they want to pursue it. I mean, we could always leave it in here and ask Park and Rec if it's something that they see in the next 10 years.
I mean, that's exactly what the goal is to explore the feasibility and even interest. And it sounds like we just don't know between
Right.
us
It
here.
might be a good way to get Park and Rec to look at this before we finalize it anyway, because we have a lot of recreation.
Yeah, and you should, you'll want to do that with all the
Right.
partners listed in here before you go to public hearing. So help me understand how Parks and Recreation works in your town. Do you have a department and a committee? Because I couldn't find anything on your website really about a committee.
There is a committee. In fact, I was assigned to a committee for like 1 year. And then it kind of languished, at least the select board representation on the committee. There's a committee of 4 or 5 people though.
Appointed by the select board?
I don't think so.
And then there are a number of staff.
Well, appointed how?
Maybe the select board.
So I just put Parks and Recreation because I didn't know whether I was really talking about a committee or a department. I
It's
don't know
both, yeah.
who does what. But I did have in my notes that they were doing a needs survey. Have you seen that? I haven't seen it. I mean, I'd like to see it so I can check it against what we have in here.
No, I haven't seen it.
I saw that it existed, but nothing beyond that.
How can we get the results?
You have to contact Larry.
Yeah, Larry Gibson. Would you want me to do that, or? I can.
Yes,
That would be
please.
great.
I'll get in touch with Larry.
So we want to leave this in for now and see what they weigh in on. Number 8, I'm wondering, get ready, Chris, I want you to jump in on this. But I'm wondering with the walking trail thing, if we want to just develop a trails map, and do we want to say something in here about like formalizing permissions for trails? We have a lot of unofficial trails, which are a wonderful gift and a great asset to the community. People don't know how to find them very well, and a lot of it is loosely arranged, right?
And I don't think, I can guarantee the Conservation Commission doesn't want anything to do with those. And not that they shouldn't necessarily,
Right.
but one thing I think that's a sticky, some of those things are a little bit, I mean, and we do have a map of the trails that we
Of the
created
town
and
trails, yeah.
maintained.
Yep.
But, yeah, I don't know about that.
So that's come up at every conversation, that people don't know where these things are. People don't know where all of the open space
Yeah.
areas are to enjoy in the town and the trails. So maybe this isn't the right wording, but the thought definitely needs to be in there to connect residents with these resources.
I mean, I think it is a sticky situation that needs some time to be worked through, but it seems like we need an inventory of trails. We need some kind of formalizing of trail permission, and then communication for whatever modes. And that's bigger than we could ask the Conservation Commission to do alone. And there might be trails that they're excited about and trails that other groups are excited about, like our trails in Fox Park that the town owns and works with, the local mountain bike group.
Yep.
So there may be a bunch of different solutions.
And I could see those official trails
Yeah.
being put on, and so what we do on the Conservation Commission, if there's an unofficial trail that's gonna cause confusion with our trail system, and I don't know if you remember this, because it always is an issue. We make
I
a little
remember
dotted
this.
line that sort of trails off into nowhere, and so people know there's a trail there, but
Right.
you know, we're not responsible for it.
Right.
You know, I think any trail that, you know, if the landowner is cool with the trail being there, I think it's fine to put that on a map,
Well,
but.
you would never map them without having permission.
Right.
It's not really a trail, it's a path.
Yeah, but I think, there's a lot of trails around here that, you know, that just exist for whatever reason.
Right,
So-
but that's not what you'd be recommending go on a map.
I think there's two different things going on here.
Yeah.
One is to make some trails official, which I think is great. You know, trail easements are, I'm not sure. But the other thing is taking the trails that exist right now, where we have permission to use, and making sure everyone knows that the trails that the Conservation Commission manages, in some places those are town trails too, because the Conservation Commission is an extension of the town. So making sure we have an inventory of a map of trails, of all the trails that exist where we can put on a map right now, so.
And we definitely have that.
you
It's,
put a lot of work into
is it accessible? It sounds like what you're saying, Tara, is people don't have access to that map in the way that we provide it, which is, and it's kind of, you know, circular. We put the maps at the trailheads, and people don't know how to get there. So, you know,
Yeah, I think
maybe,
we've discovered the problem.
so some of those maps could be at the town hall, and would people, you know, and that might be a good place for them. There could also be, you know, a large, because we have some big ones too. We
They're
put up a
beautiful, yeah.
kiosks,
Yeah.
and maybe we need one of those accessible, like in the town hall or somewhere in town where, you know, like I don't know if there's still a Plymouth information booth or some, you know, different places we could put those up, so
Is that
people know.
information? Sorry.
What's that?
I was just gonna ask if that information was available on like
Yeah.
certain apps.
Yeah,
Like
or
their
online. I mean, you got it on your website.
We have a website that's not, we just talked about the website. It's not maintained, it's not used, but the map is on there. It's a nice map. I mean,
Yeah, I think it's a great map, but I think it's more than just those trails that we need on there. It's also maybe Langdon
Yeah.
Woods and
Trails and stuff.
Fox Park to the boundary, because there's a mess of trails in there as well, and just having those, you know, be some sort of clearinghouse for like, here are the trails in town.
so,
And usage, you indicated, because, yeah, some are
Right.
bike trails primarily and
Yep.
hiking and.
And there was some discussion at the last meeting about a trail, a state trail going up along the river.
Heritage
which-
Trail.
Right.
Yeah.
Frank was talking about.
Right,
and-
which nobody else seemed to know about. I didn't know about. I know about the Heritage Trail, but it's not maintained in most segments.
Ours is marked in some segments, like along the Baker River, there's some markers.
And there's confusion because there's the official Heritage Trail, and then there's Plymouth's
yeah.
own Heritage Trail.
Right.
Right.
So I think that maybe I don't know, I think more than the Conservation Committee, and those are probably the two entities to get together and create a map that wouldn't be distributed at trailheads, I don't think, and I can elaborate on that in a little bit, because we just had a discussion about that, but to be placed like in kiosks, at the information center, but we need a more comprehensive map.
And the town, I mean, a basic place that most towns have them, who have these maps, would be the town office.
Yeah, so we could, you know, there's a big space down there, we might be able to. fit
Or
them out.
hotels. I mean, you know, thinking like the Common Man Inn, you have like, you know, Clark's Train
Right.
Bears, that kind of stuff.
Things to do in a notebook and in a lodging, yeah.
So you gave an opening that I want to maximize. You said, I think there's two separate things here. And so the first one, if we kept number 8 the way it is, I would strike walking trails.
Yeah, I did.
Okay,
heard
and
that,
so I would
yeah.
just put town trails, like just, because we're talking about Fox Park and the Conservation Commission trails. I do think we need some kind of overall inventory in formalizing, because I think if we can identify trails, some of these trails have been here longer than the 15 years I've been going on them. Some of those trails are used pretty regularly. A lot of the maintenance for those trails has fallen on, you know, volunteers over time. And some of those trails could be really good reasons for also doing some additional conservation. Like, there are a lot of reasons why maybe doing an inventory and talking to landowners.
So like a good case in point would be Stagecoach Road.
Exactly.
And that we do include,
Yeah.
we've sort of adopted that because that's a class 6 road, so we feel pretty confident that we can do that. But,
Biggs Hill Road.
yeah,
But then
so,
there are trails off both of those roads.
and that's gonna be a very different map. And I don't know if that would have to be a series of maps, but could we have one map of the town of Plymouth with trail? It wouldn't be very detailed, but at least you'd know where the trails and how to access them. That might be a pretty
You might
useful
need like just a plan.
Yeah.
I mean, so at some point, getting the Conservation Commission, Park and Rec, the mountain bike groups together over a period of time to really do an inventory and have an open process. It seems like it could be an action item. And it came up at all the sessions I was at. People
Yeah.
kept talking about the trails because John kept asking, where are these trails?
In terms of inventorying and formalizing, that's a really expensive process. Then, I mean, there isn't a way to formalize it without an easement that involves lawyers' fees to write deeds and closing
true.
costs
But, I
and
mean, the Conservation Commission
surveys.
engaged PSU students
Right.
with GIS experience that were going out mapping trails. Maybe something like that could be a,
Yeah, but I'm saying, what's your end goal? Because to
Look at Bur-
formalize the permission is a really expensive process.
We'll look at one example. The far end of the extreme would be Burke, Vermont, which now Burke, Vermont has been so successful with their trail mapping and trail construction that the Tillotson Fund is funding human-powered recreation over the next 2 years. So an exploration of all mountain bike trails and cross-country ski trails in the North Country. We don't fall in the Tillotson Fund area, but we could still plan. And maybe we do through our own creative partnership, like you're saying. I just think that this is a resource that if we wait too long, they're all going to be bisected by development and other stuff. And
Well, here's the other thing, and this may have something to do with the planning board or not, that, and you probably remember this, Rebecca, that the Conservation Commission is very anti-mountain bike,
right,
which I think is a giant mistake because of exactly what you just said.
right.
I think there's an opportunity for this town to embrace the way Burke, Vermont, and several other towns have done, the mountain bikers and their trails. And then I think we could start mapping those, talking to landowners.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I think a town-wide, a map of the town of Plymouth and trails, the class 6 roads, and how they connect to trails that do exist, that doesn't exist.
Plymouth Mountain and these other
Yeah.
systems, yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what people have been asking.
Yeah, and put in a public place. So I think that's, something that Conservation Commission would be happy to, work with Parks and Rec and whoever else.
And in a lot of towns, the actual maps are done with a volunteer, because it's so easy with the online tools now, to have a map that's kind of a legend of where all the trails are, and that's on the website, and then you click on that and you get the 8.5 by 11 that's that trail, and you print out and take it with you that day, right? It's kind of, usually that's done with volunteers. It's just easy.
And the one thing I will say about those maps that we give out, we constantly print those, we put them at the trailheads, people take them and they bring them home and throw them away. It's an expense, and so we talked about at the last meeting to create a map that didn't just have the maps on it, but also had trail descriptions, a little bit more elaborate map that we could actually sell, because we don't need to be giving those out. If they exist on the kiosks for the most part, and if people wanted them enough, and we got an elaborate enough trail system, they could defray the cost of, we give those things out, we're constantly restocking those, it just seems like a waste.
We don't give out any trail maps at at the SLA headquarters we do, but we don't give out any on the trails.
And we would do something, do you give those out at the SLA?
Well, in theory we do, but we're working on updating it.
Yeah, so yeah.
So do you guys want to just talk about a map or a plan? I mean, you're talking more about a
I'm
plan.
advocating for an inventory and a plan.
A trails
Longer
plan.
term, yeah.
So I think there's a
Town.
second recommendation.
Right.
Yeah.
And I don't think it should fall on the Conservation Commission alone. I think it should be Planning Board and Conservation Commission and Park and Rec and whoever else we think. Could be Plymouth State, right? Because they could help with some of the functions.
And put in an
Should-
app.
Should we
Actually, I really
include,
like that idea.
maintenance somewhere in
Let's do an
this
app.
section? Because if we're gonna be mapping all these trails, I mean, people are gonna be walking on them, and we're gonna need to maintain these trails, right?
Right.
I think that's gonna be part of the plan is, develop location and a maintenance plan for them, because absolutely somebody's gonna have to take
And
care of them.
marking, because like you were talking about the trails at the Fox Park, and I went out there and got completely lost because nothing's marked. I ended up on some road somewhere and finally made it back, but.
I'm happy to go out there with you sometime.
Definitely, yeah.
And that's
I
the
didn't have to
downside of
worry.
just having maps
It's pretty-
in a kiosk, not that you can take with you. I mean, are any of the trails complex enough that you need to have it in hand while you're out there?
The mountain bike trails fold on themselves so much that you
Yeah.
can get, it gets confusing.
I think it's on the smartphone is the way most people get their maps. And certainly there's all kinds of websites that already exist. Just put your map on there, right? I mean, there's a Hike New Hampshire website, there's all kinds of ways to do it without the expense of printing and handing them out. If it were me, I'd just do a pile of maps at Town Hall and a big kiosk in front of the Boy Scout.
Yeah, or some kind of public space like that people could go look at this map. And so I think things like the snowmobile trails
Yeah.
should be on there.
Yeah.
And that should be designated as a snowmobile trail. So like, it would be the whole town of Plymouth. It wouldn't be the map that we have now.
Some of them are just winter trails,
Yeah.
and they would show up just as winter
Yeah.
trails. Yeah, that's a good point.
But that's, I mean, I think that's a great idea.
When do we start our committee?
The trail committee.
Trail committee.
Trails committee.
There's a I don't know, a recommendation or part of this is including a trails committee, because this is a multi
It's a big enough job.
thing. that-
Yeah,
Multi-use trails committee with
Yeah.
representatives from,
and
Right.
it sounds like there's enough interest. It has been talked about at every
Yeah.
gathering, yeah.
Which was exciting to hear it come out, because you kind of talk to your friends and you're not surprised that people have similar interest, but to hear it come up at all these public forums, and maybe it's the type of town volunteer position that will attract some folks that don't typically like to come to planning board meetings or.
Yeah, and it's people of all ages. There was,
Right.
some senior residents at a cross-country skiing that
Yeah.
spoke up at the visioning session, and that's why I mentioned having the maps at the senior center.
yeah, those.
Not to be ages, but I'm like into that group that doesn't use apps, so.
Well, and by the time we have a trails
Not
plan,
that
I'm
there
gonna
aren't
be
people
having
older
lunch
than
at
me
the
who do,
senior center, so I want to make sure there are maps there.
I also do not use apps. so
I
that-
can't, I don't see well
plenty
enough
of
to.
apps. Apparently Gene uses apps too.
You have a compass?
Yeah, I did too.
Yes.
I don't use them all, but.
I have
take it
I don't either.
No,
but
I have a great
them.
sense of direction.
I use my
Okay.
phone for a sense of
Thanks for
direction.
hearing me out on those.
I think it's
I
good.
do take pictures of the good maps on kiosks and take them home and print them for next time.
It's a slippery slope from there to using an app. I'm
I don't even have a smartphone, so.
No, it's, right, it's on a camera.
Oh, on a camera. okay.
Camera. Remember those?
No.
No. No, I did graduate from that.
Okay. Anything else on recreation?
So did I give you homework last time? I thought I was gonna give you these, arts and recreation pages from the old plan to look over, but I still have a big stack of them.
You didn't give them to us.
Is everybody sticking with the same story?
Yeah,
We didn't get any
stick with that
homework.
story.
You can give it to us now.
I'll give it to you now. And I don't know if you have other things you need to do tonight, or you wanna, or if you have time to look through it. You can skip the first page, because we put that in facilities, we've done that, but the other goals really go more kinda in the cultural heritage, section. We did natural resources and history, but we really didn't not do the cultural piece. They're all hiding in this arts and recreation section in the other plan. So I'm reorganizing the recommendations a little bit. there was a lot of detail in these, and it's a lot more detail than in some of the other topics, and I don't know, is that just a factor of who was involved in the previous plan, or, if you could give me some direction on this tonight, it would be great.
Does it feel to you like it's out of proportion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I heard a lot about trails and recreation at all the meetings. I didn't hear a lot about, these topics, except, I mean, I did hear that people really value the cultural opportunities that are here because of the college,
Right.
and would really like a way to hear about things going on at the college more. That's really my main takeaway on this topic from the meeting.
I think some of these things may have been addressed too. Like I went down to the bottom of page 44, number 4, support an outdoor performance and education center. Is that the amphitheater? The Rotary Amphitheater,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
I don't quite get, performance and education center? What's,
Educational theater?
Is that
lectures?
like
You do a lecture
miming the
there?
lesson? I
Yeah.
mean,
Let's
what
just do
is
that.
that?
I mean, I think it's great that we do have this arts section because we do have so much performance art in town. We could have like incubator space for artists. Like, what a cool thing. That would be great.
Friends of the Arts isn't around.
Do you wanna just try to tackle them and
Sure.
come next time with different, don't worry about the responsibility or time, maybe just kind of chew through the goals 2 through 4 and, 2 through 5 and the recommendations under them.
Is there a treasures directory? Anyone know?
Is there a what directory?
Treasures directory?
Jeez, I don't know.
I don't think so. There was recommendations in the other sections to inventory.
It wouldn't surprise me if it was something that existed at the Historical Society.
There was a historic site inventory back probably in the late 80s when we all did them. But I don't know if the town even still has its copy. And I think number 2 was dealt with in this material we talked about last meeting.
Bill, did you say Friends of the Arts is around or not around?
No, I think it's dead.
Okay. It seems like somebody from Friends of the Arts was part of the master plan.
Yeah, it looks
last
that
time.
way.
It took on
We
too
were
much.
hoping,
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a neat way to know it was a public process.
Yeah.
You can recognize individuals.
So 3 and 4 are about kind of creating a new entity, right? That doesn't currently exist.
It's on page 44,
On 44, yeah.
top or bottom, 3 or 4.
So create an awards program, provide a clearinghouse. I mean, that's somebody doing work.
Right.
But for number 4, I mean, maybe it's not about coordination, but we definitely, at all the meetings, people have asked for one-stop
Calendar.
shopping for all the stuff going on.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep.
And that wouldn't be the local newspaper? Do they want something beyond that?
I think they want like an online calendar where you can go and
Yeah.
see everything that's going on.
I mean, I think it's even difficult within the university to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
So I think it's not just because the university's not communicating with the town, it's just difficult to know.
Right.
So oftentimes you don't know something's happening until it's happened.
So how do you even tackle number 4?
You provide a clearinghouse. I think that's maybe what we need to figure out.
It's probably an app.
Well, I think you set it up as an event section of even your town website.
See?
And
I've got one.
Gene says there is
have a
one.
place to submit events. And that's how it would,
Events on the town
that's a
website.
common way to do it, is to have a form to submit an event, and
yeah.
somebody in the town office is the keeper
Or
of it.
Facebook.
But someone does need to enter it,
Yeah.
enter information, whether it's someone, university stuff or other events, but some sort of,
Right.
So if everybody was using the same platform, it would populate itself.
Yeah. That's not gonna happen though. No offense, but, the university, I mean, it has like multiple calendars, different
Right.
departments. I mean, so they can't coordinate. We, the monkey, I mean, got all these little different things going on that,
Do we just strike it?
no, it'd be great,
No,
but
I'd-
it's just, from my perspective, it seems like it's unreasonable to think that people can coordinate.
but I think that it's not our job right now to figure out how to do it. It's just, we know that it
The
needs to
need.
get done, so we need to say that, let's figure this out.
And people get in the habit, it takes time, but people get in the habit of using those when they exist. And it may not be that there's somebody at the college whose job it is, but it may be that a lot of people putting on events do in time think to add it. Oh yeah, I need to submit it to the town event calendar.
Do we want to keep number 3? Do we want to advocate for a local awards program?
I think it's strange to have a awards program for people just in the arts and cultural
Yeah.
field. I
Yeah.
think it's really specific.
I would strike it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And 2 was really covered in not the heritage section.
Okay. So 2 is gone.
And 1 doesn't say much to me, but I guess it is a goal.
I don't know what it means really.
Kind of like,
Like-
yeah.
I'm with you
And
on
that's
that.
kind of the same, what we're trying to go for with number 4, I think.
Or the goal, I mean, isn't number 1 another way of saying the name of the goal?
Yeah, I would
Right.
strike 1.
Yeah. All right, so we got
I was
number
gonna think it was
4,
promotional, but that's
We're
like,
trying to trim these, that's,
Yeah, we have 3 pages.
yeah.
and 5 is still good, right? We have our art festival in the common and
Yep.
stuff at the amphitheater and,
So 6 would have to just get changed, strike Friends of the Arts. and
Is
Work to
there-
eliminate barriers.
Is there anybody now?
What's the Cultural Arts Commission?
state level or what?
Is that what that is? The cultural, where
We don't know.
responsibility of this Cultural Arts
I
Commission?
wondered the same.
We don't know.
Or is it the first recommendation, from the first recommendation in the next section, number 1? A permanent independent cultural commission.
No more than 10 members can apply for or receive funding. Somebody had a plan.
Oh,
The select board must have assigned it back in 2009. Because they'd have a lot of duties to do.
well, you've answered my question of, is there an entity now? Apparently not.
No.
Does there,
But great things have happened through a variety of groups.
Yeah, right.
Do you want to keep number 1 or should we strike it?
which number 1?
Permanent.
Establishment of permanent independent commission.
Actually, it's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'd keep it.
we can continue to consider it.
Good. Select board.
With more volunteers.
17.
Did we decide to keep 6 on the one above?
Yes.
If we do, I think we strike the first
Yeah.
5 or so words, just because Friends of the Arts isn't there. So
Right.
maybe,
To start work.
yeah, work to eliminate barriers.
I mean, part of that is part of number 4, I think.
Can I,
Yes.
first because you jumped onto another goal, I got a little lost, but, are goals number 2 and 3 different enough to be separate? Does that fit the pattern of the rest of the plan? Maybe not.
I think they're the same.
Yeah, I think they should be combined. I think it was nice in the previous
Oh my gosh.
group of drafts that you gave to us that there was one kind of overarching goal for the whole topic. you know, you got the one for community facilities and services.
So I'll make my homework for the next meeting be, among other things, to combine goals 2, 3, and 5. Bounce some language off you that combines those and make goal number 4 be a recommendation rather than a goal. Does that make sense?
I think if you do that, a lot of these become kind of redundant
Yep.
Yeah.
and they can fall off.
I think this is helpful though to keep going this way. Just lost
I
my
think number
pace a
3,
little bit in
incubator
notes.
space is good to keep in there.
Where are we?
Number 3 on 44 at the
Yeah.
bottom, encourage incubator space, or, do we mention anywhere in here like a maker space, a collaborative design space?
No.
That could work there too.
We like that phrase incubator space here in Plymouth, I think.
Yeah.
So,
Put it
We
on
have the
everything.
business incubator, but
Yeah.
What's
not
the,
a kind of maker space.
yeah, what's the thing downtown?
It's an incubator.
That's an incubator.
No,
That's
no,
an actual.
No, the
business.
other, the artistic incubator, you know, where.
Oh, artistic
groups,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's
Stick
like a
incubator.
sales space, but
You know, they have downstairs classes, and they're trying to encourage like a lot of locals to, you know, participate and sell wares, that kind of stuff, but
maybe we have it.
we have it we don't have a nonprofit incubator space, but we got like a for-profit, I guess, but
That's true.
also
I mean,
featured on Channel 9.
Artistic Roots is it is it?
It is. a
Well, yeah,
nonprofit board.
actually it is,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
That works for me. We could lose number 3 then. I mean, I think number 5 we hit when we get the Flying Monkey and we have the Silver Cultural Arts Center. Like we have lots of venues for.
And the New Teen Youth Center.
Yes, right. Over 18, where Gene and I are going later.
Yet to be
Cool.
explored, right?
Sounds so creepy.
Hey, let's go down to the youth center and enjoy a non-alcoholic drink.
By pool. All right, so much for that idea.
Is four is trash too, or what? If it's support not to replace education. Or are we, I mean,
Yeah, I
four
don't
is
think we need it.
successful. Yeah, okay.
I think we've been successful there. I think this is a good thing. Some of these things are because we've had,
Which one are we?
4 and 44, bottom.
yeah.
4 and 5,
Support
we're going,
performance.
4, 5, yeah, 3, 4, 5.
2, 4, 5.
Yeah. 3, 4, 5 at the bottom of 44. So the top of 45, I'm wondering if we need one. Should we be telling the SAU to do an arts and education program in the public schools for a land use master plan?
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is your plan that has recommendations for other entities in the community,
Maybe-
and you're trying to emphasize collaboration.
So maybe we should name our park and rec department should be part of that, the after-school program. They're housed in the school. I don't know.
So what if we just look at number 2 instead? And add as responsibilities, Parks and Rec, SAU,
That's nice. I like that.
and if we want to include words about language,
Good.
including public schools or something like that.
Good call.
Good. I think number 3 was talking about this group doing it that isn't in existence anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the university does provide a lot
Yeah.
already.
Yeah, that's moot.
I'm wondering if 1 and 2 of the next section are kind of addressed in some of the other things ahead of them. I just kind of flagged them.
Mm.
They say a lot of the same.
I think they're so vague, I don't even understand what they
Yeah.
mean.
Right. I think they'll be implied in our goal.
I agree. I love crossing things off.
So we're getting rid of 1 and 2?
How about number 3, Chamber of Commerce and Main Street? Do we have a Chamber of Commerce again?
There's a Central New Hampshire Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah,
Right.
and Main Street Plymouth is no longer,
Right.
but something like that should be, back in effect.
So is that something to add, though, as something about Main Street Plymouth?
Yeah, we should create,
But that's-
Revitalize
But
or
that's
something?
bigger than arts and recreation. Maybe in.
Right, but I'll make a note that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
put it, or to go. think 4 was the clearinghouse we were talking about.
Yeah.
Wasn't so bad.
Let's get number 5 out of the way. Did you accomplish number 5, Bill?
What do you wanna do with number 5?
Certain, but examine the impact of cultural nonprofits and related spending by arts
I don't-
audiences.
I don't know what it says.
That would be,
This is filled with just the exploration without any sort of action content.
I think that it was the premise that it was a real shot in the arm for the town's economy, and here's how we need to prove that, maybe, or document it, but, all right, I've crossed almost everything out, now
And
we're
it seems like if we can get down to one goal and a few of the ones that remain, I think we're gonna be in good shape.
Yeah.
Because we are fortunate, it is really part of the fabric.
Okay. Cool. Excellent. Any more homework for us?
No, I want to talk to you about dates though, because I'm away the first Thursday in May. And I wondered, without Sharon here, do you know what you have on your docket for the regular meeting? Should I wait and check with her?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nothing that I know of that's looming.
Let me write that,
When's our next regular meeting?
what would the date be?
2 weeks from
Week after
today.
next.
When would the,
When are we gonna reconsider that?
Whenever the lawyers get done doing
Yeah,
what
okay,
they
it's
gotta
still,
do.
it's not scheduled, right?
Sharon has not gotten, as far as I know, she has not received
Okay.
anything from them, so.
when would your regular meeting be in May, is what I was asking. I can't come in the first week, so
Yeah.
whenever I could come.
May 4th.
May 4th, yeah.
Gene's got an app for
Yeah,
it.
no,
Get
I'm
an
away,
app for that, yeah.
I'm away that
So it'd
week.
be the 18th, right?
Yep.
2 weeks later?
So I'm gonna write that down and keep in touch with her. Does that make sense?
Excellent.
Deal.
All right.
The snow will be gone and the bugs will be out.
You think so?
By next Friday.
Bill's
By
not
the
sure.
next time I see you, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope you're still.
It'll be 75 on Tuesday.
Also, the ticks will be out.
There's still a foot of
Well,
ice
thanks,
on
Tara,
that.
for shepherding us through that in a very efficient way. It was
Just
good.
done a Massapequa yesterday, no ice, people out fishing in boats.
Any public comments before we close? Frank's not here, so. I would entertain
So
a,
moved.
Second.
thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Were we on TV tonight?
Yeah.